Yeah, it's interesting that you use the word burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So you used two words I thought that were really interesting in the last few minutes. You used burnout and then stress.
Yeah.
And everybody knows there's a correlation between stress and burnout.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right that people don't understand that stress is not the same thing as a stressor.
Mm-hmm.
So for you,
Yeah.
I mean, you picked your entire career path, even in college,
Mm-hmm.
around the idea of knowing that if you built an intimate relationship with your career,
Yeah.
you would take it home with you, and that would be a stressor that would cause stress and lead to burnout.
Yes.
For me, if I'm not intimately connected with my career,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in it. Like I want it to come home with me. I want it to
Yeah.
be the thing that's always kind of ruminating in the background. And that means that it's not a stressor.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't cause stress,
Yeah.
right? The fact that it's always back there grinding, new ideas for Everyday Spy, new content ideas, new strategic partnerships, new operations. Like I got a call the other day from peers at FBI
Mm-hmm.
who are still active at FBI. That's the kind of stuff that it lights me up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite of stress,
Right.
but I'm still susceptible to burnout.
Right.
You're exactly right. But because burnout comes when your resources are overspent
Yeah.
and you now are without resources to do the things that energize you
Right.
or to do with the things that stress you out. When you can't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
you suffer from this cognitive overload that is commonly known as burnout.
Right. And so burnout is really when, I think this is where we differ as well, right? So burnout comes when you feel like there's so much to do and that it will never get done.
Yeah.
So that stress and anxiety about, oh, my to-do list will never get done. That stress and anxiety overloads your nervous system over time and you physically and mentally burn out. But, to your point where you're like, you love the work, you're energized by it,
It still causes cortisol.
right. But it's different because, we've taken the test where, it tests like your follow through level and things like that. And we've come to know that I have a very high follow through level. So for me, it causes a lot of stress and anxiety when I can't complete something, when I feel like I have a project or a task that I can't complete.
Mm-hmm.
But yours isn't that way. And I think it's because you're more conceptual than I am. So for you, your ideas float around and it, what gets done, and you don't worry about it for the next day. So for you, at the end of the day, you're satisfied with what's been done, right? You're satisfied with the progress you've made. You've been like, oh, I did all this work today and maybe stuff didn't get finished, but it's not a big deal to you. For me, at the end of the day, if I haven't finished something, I am super stressed about when am I going to do this?
Yeah,
right?
I feel like there's an awesome spy lesson here,
Mm-hmm.
because CIA taught us this about ourselves, and it taught us this about other people as well.
Yep.
That what we're really talking about is a biological release of hormones in your system through your brain,
Yeah.
and the stress hormone is cortisol,
Mm-hmm.
and the closure hormone, the satisfaction hormone, is dopamine.
Yeah.
So it's this constant balancing act, or this constant drop of cortisol drops into your system,
Mm-hmm.
or dopamine drops into your system. When cortisol drops into your system, everything feels nasty.
Yeah.
Your stomach, you got the acid that builds up in your stomach, and you've got the tension in your shoulders, and you've got the tired feeling, and you've got that, you want to pull your hair out. That's the stress hormone.
Yeah.
That's cortisol. As cortisol goes up, it drowns out and takes over those dopamine receptors, so you can't even feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, like, women who are planning their weddings, especially, they've got both things going on. They want to feel good. They're getting married.
Yeah.
They've got the perfect flowers, the perfect dress. The family's all going to be together. So they've got dopamine drops, but the receptors are being filled by the cortisol.
Yeah.
So they don't feel good. They just feel stressed.
Yeah.
Right? And I always feel bad for those brides where on their honeymoon, they realize that they barely remember their wedding,
Mm-hmm.
because they just didn't have that. They didn't have the ability to enjoy the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So they enjoy it through pictures, which is what makes videographers and photographers such
Yeah.
a worthwhile investment for so many brides.
Yep.
CIA taught us that what you really have to do is you have to give your body space to absorb the cortisol, to leave openings for the dopamine,
Yeah.
because the dopamine is what keeps you going.
Yeah.
And two of the big techniques they taught us there were breathing techniques and meditation techniques.
Yeah. And I think those are important because the breathing techniques and the meditation techniques are small enough techniques that you can implement them on a day-to-day basis. Because
Moment
I think,
to moment.
right, moment to moment, which is important because a lot of people will let themselves burn out and then be like, you know what, I'm done, I'm burnt out, I'm gonna take a vacation. And then on their vacation, one of two things happen. They either have, you know, like they completely just drop off the face of the world, and then their immune system that has been
Oh my gosh.
overworked, you know, and they get sick, and then they just lay on the couch, and it's not, you know, really their dopamine levels aren't really being, you know, heightened. They're just slumped there on the couch. Or you have the people who go on the vacation and then fill their vacation with stuff to do that is, and they're not any less stressed out than they were before when
because
they were working.
It's still about cortisol and dopamine. It's
Right.
still about adding more cortisol. But now your cortisol is, we've got to get the kids up at 6 a.m. and we've got to get them to the check-in counter at 8 a.m. and we've got to get on this ride first and this ride second and this ride third and what are we going to do for lunch, and we got to pack lunch. All that cortisol hides the dopamine. Or like you were saying with the person who just sits on the couch and veges out, there's no cortisol, but there's also no dopamine.
Right.
So the receptors just go empty, and
Right.
the immune system ends up paying the penalty.